Destiny 2 is lacking content at the moment. This is no secret, but that doesn't mean I can't solve arbitrary math problems for the sake of curiosity and answering a question that no one bothered to ask because no one truly cares. However, I know you are at least somewhat curious because you saw the title and decided you wanted to know the answer. So let's answer the question. How many different ways can you customize your Guardian's loadout? This started out as a fairly simple question. You could be a Titan, a Warlock, or a Hunter. Each of these three classes have 3 subclasses, and each of those 3 subclasses have 36 different combinations. Now right there, I know I lost some people, so let me break it down. Not because you're stupid or these numbers are difficult to comprehend, but because I threw a number at you with no explanation. Each subclass has 3 grenade options and 3 jump options, so this in total gives us 9 combinations. These 9 combinations then get doubled by the 2 class-specific abilities, putting the total to 18, and then we have the 2 4-node clusters to choose from, bringing the total to 36 different combinations per subclass. Then, since we have 3 subclasses, that brings our total to 108, and then we multiply it by 3 because of the 3 classes, bringing the total to 324 different class loadouts. And I mean, sure, this is a small number compared to Destiny 1, but that's a topic for another video, maybe, and also not the topic of this video. We aren't looking for logical answers here, we're looking for absurd answers to questions you didn't even ask. So, 324 different ways so far. Let's keep going. Next on the list is weapons. We have to look at all the weapons in the game, all the kinetics, all the energy weapons, and all the power weapons. I could keep things simple and not count common, uncommon, and rare weapons and only count legendaries and exotics, but there's no fun in that. We're looking for absurd numbers, or well, big numbers. Destiny 2 has 94 different kinetic weapons ranging from common to legendary. 47 of those weapons are legendary, meaning 47 of that 94 can be masterwork, increasing the total to 141. If we do the same thing for energy weapons, which totals 106 weapons, 76 being legendary, increasing that original 106 to a total of 182, but wait, every single energy weapon can be one of 3 elements, so let's triple it to 546. So if we stop here for just a moment and take the 324 ways to configure your class and subclass, multiply that by the number of kinetic weapons, and then multiply that by the number of energy weapons, we have a grand total of 24,943,464 different combinations. But that number still has a name, a fairly common name. Something in the millions really isn't a big number, so let's keep going. Once again, we're going to count the number of power weapons, which totals 124, and like before, we count the number of legendaries, which is 85, and add that to the previous 124, and then multiplying it by 3 to account for elemental variations, bringing the total to 627. Now we multiply that by the previous 24,943,464, and we get 15,639,551,928 technically different ways to play Destiny. Tell me that isn't interesting. Or do, I don't care. But we've got more to do, like armor and ghosts and ships and sparrows, so we need to go deeper. I'm gonna give you guys a little insight here. I do the math as I write the script for these videos, and I tend to realize things after I complete a section. And I just realized that I forgot something. And as I typed out the words, I forgot something, I realized I forgot 2 things. I forgot that on average there are 3.583 ways to customize each and every masterwork weapon due to the fact that they have random rolls, and that legendaries have about 5 ways to customize the perks. Some have 4, some have 6, so to save myself from going completely insane, I'm saying 5. You can deal with the inaccuracies here, okay? But I still have to go back and do all that math all over again to get a more accurate number that will be slightly inaccurate because I refuse to go through every single weapon in the game and count the number of perk setups. Every weapon has 5 in my book. Alright, so we're back to square one, or 324. Wait, is that a square number? Holy crap, it is a square number. It's 18. 18 squares is 324, so it really is square one. Anyway, back to 324. We have 94 kinetic weapons, 47 are legendary, each of those can have 5 different setups, so we got 47 non-legendary, 235 legendaries accounting for perk rolls, and 842 masterworks accounting for perk rolls and masterwork rolls. So in total, 1,124 kinetics. If we do the same thing for energy weapons, we get 5,255, and then again for power weapons, totaling 5,882. And then take all those numbers and then multiply them together, we get 1,125,664,784,160 technically different ways to play Destiny. And I say technically because some of these loadouts are literally identical, minus the fact that, for example, the power weapon changes elements. So for every 1 loadout, it's actually 3, but it's still different. Alright, so 1 trillion loadouts, and that's only weapons. Did you really think I was gonna stop here? Did you really think that? Come on now. Have you ever watched my channel before? We still gotta account for armor. Each class in the game has a total of 17 different armor sets, each with 5 pieces. For those of you that don't believe me that there are 17, there's Zavala's set, the Crucible set, Ikora, 4 planets, 3 class-specific sets, Trials, Raid, Prestige Raid, Raid Lair, and 3 factions. Meaning each class has 17 to the 5th power setups, or 1.4 million different armor arrangements. And I know someone out there is gonna be like, but you're assuming that the armor means anything. And you're right, I am assuming. Well, actually, I'm not even assuming. It's different. I didn't say beneficial, Mr. Complainy Comments Man. I said different. And plus, that 1.4 million figure doesn't even account for the uncommons, commons, and rares, which in this case, if you're wondering, is 13 more armor sets. So now it's 30 to the 5th power, or 24,300,000 armor combinations per class type. So let's go ahead and multiply that by 3 to cover all the classes. There. 72,900,000 different armor setups. And again, I'm not going to count all the mods in the game. Well, I did, actually. But I'm not going to put you through the math. There's about 5.5 possible mods per slot. So that means more multiplication, 72.9 million times 5.5, which is about 400,950,000. We then take this new 400 million number and multiply it by the 1.1 trillion we got previously, and we now have 451 quintillion, 335 quadrillion, 295 trillion, 208 billion, 952 million. Or to save my own breath, 4.5 times 10 to the 20. We're approaching the number of atoms in the known universe here. Well, not really, because 10 to the 80 is a much bigger number than that of 10 to the 20, but you're beginning to realize how big this number is getting. But we aren't done. Let's keep going and account for ships and sparrows, which total 90 and 62 respectively. Take the number of ghosts, which is 64, and of course take the number of emblems in the game, which is 132, which just those 4 items alone can be arranged in 47,139,840 different ways. So once again, you guys know what's going to happen. We're going to take that 47 million and multiply it by that massive number, the 451 quintillion, which gives us 21.3 octillion combinations. That's 2.13 times 10 to the 28. Now, of course, I thought I would be done here. I thought, alright, that's a large number for an arbitrary math problem that no one wanted the answer to. 21.3 octillion is a number that not many people think about. But I forgot one thing. One tiny, little, insignificant thing. Shaders. I looked into shaders and realized there are 128 of these things. That means every single item, every single calculation I've done, every weapon, every armor piece, every ship, every sparrow, and every ghost needed to be multiplied by 128 before we did any of the calculations that I just spent the last 3 hours doing. Fuck. Alright, so square one once again. 324, back to that golden number, that square number, 18 squared. Here we go. Accounting for the shaders, we have 143,827 kinetics, 672,640 energy weapons, 752,896 power weapons, 4.592 quintillion armor combinations, 11,520 ships, 7,680 sparrows, 8,192 ghosts, and 132 emblems. Altogether, totaling a massive 1.04 times 10 to the 52nd power. That's 1 with 52 zeros after it. It looks like this. Alright, I think we're done here. Don't you dare do it, brain. Don't you dare tell me I missed something else. I refuse to do anything else. I'm not doing any other thing that you tell me I missed. No, I'm not taking character customizations into account. You can't frickin' make me do it, brain. There's like 3 races, each with 2 gender choices, and like 4 categories each with 3 categories within each of those 3 and there's like 10 to the... There's so many options. I'm not multiplying my perfect square number, my golden number 324, by the number of customization options and starting all over. This video took like 4 hours just to do the math on it. Brain, why do you have to know these things? Fine. Fine. It's 6,071,181,984. There are 6,000,000 71,181,984 ways to customize your character. If we multiply that by the 324, we have reached 1,967,062,962,816 before we even touch weapons, armor, ships, sparrows, shaders, ghosts, and emblems. I'm gonna save you guys the time, because it's been hell. This was supposed to be like, hey, look at this big number. But nope, I had to do the math like 8 times. Like I said, save you guys the time. The total number of different ways that your Guardian can be set up, whether that be in the form of shaders, to mods, to weapons, to the element you put on those weapons, the total number is 6.29 times 10 to the 61st power. Now you're probably thinking, that's not much bigger. It was previously 1.04 times 10 to the 52. Now let me explain to you that 6.29 times 10 to the 61 is 6 billion times bigger than 1.04 times 10 to the 52. 6 billion times! Imagine you find a penny on the ground and you multiply that by 6 billion times. You now have $6 million. Or even better, the total estimated amount of money in the world is around $80 trillion. You can fit $80 trillion about this many times into that number. That's 100 quintillion times. It's a real number, and it's a 1 with 50 zeros after it. Now you might be wondering why I made this video, and to be honest, I have no idea why I made this video. I guess I made it because I got curious about the number of possible combinations you could use to make your Guardian even slightly different from someone else's. And now I know, and since you watched this video, now you know. So I guess all I can say is, now we know. But I wanted to take this number and really put it into perspective. I wanted to break it down into a number that is not only understandable, but really shows how insane 6.29 times 10 to the 61st power is. While slightly off, that number is pretty close to 2 to the 192nd power. That's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 192 times. This number is also really hard to comprehend, as it's not something you really think about. But 2 to the 192nd power is 2 to the 32nd power to the 6th power. Again, this number isn't exactly understandable until I say that 2 to the 32nd power is roughly 4 billion. 4.2 billion to be exact, but it's a number you can understand. So 2 to the 192nd power, while still 10,000 times smaller than our actual number, it's not super far off, so we're going to use it. 2 to the 192nd power, as I stated, is roughly 4 billion times 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 4 billion. Now let's pretend I secretly make a loadout. I get to choose any customization on any class and subclass with any weapon, any armor setup, any ship, sparrow, and ghost, all with a random shader and a random emblem. And tasked you and as many friends as you wanted to use anything you wanted to guess what combination I was wearing. You don't have to guess on the first try. You don't have to guess on the trillionth try. You just have to eventually have the same loadout. To be certain you landed on the same loadout, you decided to make a program on a computer that starts creating these loadouts as fast as the processor and GPU could possibly create them. Since it's somewhat of a hot topic right now, you decided to take a Bitcoin mining rig and change it from mining Bitcoin to make it pump out these random destiny combinations at a rate of about 4 billion per second. Now take that and imagine that the number of people on Earth, which is roughly 7.3 billion people, imagine taking just over half of everyone on Earth and giving them one of these super powerful destiny combination generating computers. Now that we are here at 4 billion times 4 billion, imagine then doing this for 4 billion copies of Earth. To give you some perspective on what 4 billion Earths look like, the Milky Way has anywhere from 100 billion to 400 billion stars. Let's assume it's on the higher side at 400 billion. 1% of all those stars having a planet would be 4 billion planets. So each of those planets would need to have 4 billion people on them, each with a computer spitting out about 4 billion guesses per second. Now take that and imagine 4 billion Milky Ways, 4 billion galaxies, all doing this exact thing. That's 4% of all galaxies estimated to be in the entire universe. All with 4 billion planets, all with 4 billion people, all calculating 4 billion guesses per second. Then, if we take those calculations and do them non-stop for 4 billion seconds, roughly 128 years, you would still have about a 1 in 4 billion chance of guessing which loadout I was using. To be absolutely certain, you would need about 507 billion years to be 100% certain you hit my loadout at least once while creating random loadouts at 4 billion a second. On 4 billion computers, on 4 billion planets, in 4 billion galaxies. And to think You have to remember that 2 to the 192nd power is still roughly 10,000 times smaller than the number we actually calculated. So you wouldn't be 100% certain, but instead you'd be about 0.1% certain. Oh, and just to make this number even larger and easier to visualize, remember when the universe was created about 13.7 billion years ago? Yeah, you'll need all that time about 37 times to be about 0.1% sure you guessed my loadout one time. At the end of the day, there are so many variations. You would need to start at the Big Bang and start making guesses. And when you reach 2018, you would have to go back in time to the Big Bang again, start over, and then over and over and over and over again 370,000 times. And then, and only then, would you have reached every possible combination you can currently equipped on your Guardian and customize your garden in Destiny. Oh, and to really grind your gears and make you really upset, I forgot to mention this, but the 6.29 times 10 to the 61 number, yeah, that doesn't account for a single exotic.